I mean, Jodie Foster tried to run me over with her car.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Oh, it's a great story, dude. It's a great story. I got a tip on her, and she was at you know that valet, that parking lot that Gayu Kaku and Fogo de Chao share?
On La Cienega, yeah.
Yeah. So I got a tip that she was at Gayu Kaku. So she was with her family. And I had the camera down. And Omar, remember Omar? Omar was there to pap. He had his camera to take stills. And I was there with my video camera. So she comes out of Gayu Kaku to walk towards her car, which was parked there. And there's a bunch of people waiting at the Fogo de Chao valet. There's like 20 people outside waiting. You know what I'm talking about? They're all in that parking lot waiting for the Fogo de Chao valet.
Yeah.
I'm walking to the car. She's parked right by them. So I'm walking up to her and I have my camera down out of respect. And I just said, "Hey, how are you tonight?" And she just starts going off on me. I mean, nasty, like screaming at the top of her lungs, like cursing me out.
Don't touch me.
Yeah, and I'm like, what the hell? I go, the camera's facing down. I'm like, the camera's down. I mean, I wasn't in her face with a camera with a light or anything. I was down, not even turned on. I was actually going up to her politely, and she's carrying on like I just murder someone that she knew. It's just insane. So everyone in line is like, now it's like live entertainment for everybody at the valet, right? They're all sitting there like, oh, this is like a free show. So Omar is watching all this. He's not even taking pictures now because he's so entertained by all this. So when she's done, like through her hissy fit, spitting hissy fit, all I said was, and maybe my delivery was a little snarky, but all I said was, I went, "You're being a bit extreme." And everybody in the line for the valet just lost it. Like, ah. So then she's like, and she gets in her car and she like does this, like she's in a Prius. So she spins around and she just tries to run. And I'm like by the exit. So she's like, and I was like, whoa. And I had to jump out of the way.
Wow.
She out. You know, it's like a dip to go onto La Cienega. She made a right. So
yeah.
Went out to La Cienega, just sped off. Omar is on the ground, hysterically laughing. He hadn't taken any photos. He's crying. He's laughing so hard. Everybody in the line is like, whoa, it's got to be on someone's cell phone somewhere because people had their phones out. It was a real spectacle. Immediately, Steve goes out and puts out an APB. Yo, dog, no one film her. She's kicking up dust with Harvey. Like, everyone leave her alone. Like, why did you film her? I'm like, I didn't know any of this stuff, right? But here's where it gets even crazier. So fast forward a few months later, and I go to New York, and I get booked as an extra because I'm off on like this day, and it's like the central casting is like, "Hey, do you want to work as an extra on this movie?" It's like maybe like 3 months later. So I'm like, yeah. So I go out to Manhattan and I'm working as an extra and everything on this movie, you know? And guess who the director was?
Oh,
Jodie
no.
Foster. She's the director. She's
Jodie?
directing this movie. Yeah. So then I see her, right? So I'm over there like, I'm like, oh my God, that's her. So I was like, dude, she's going to remember me. So I'm like looking over at her and she's doing that thing. Like, and she has her earpiece in and she's like this. Like she's doing this thing. Like looking at me, and she's trying to place where she knows me from, and I'm like, I'm like turning my head, and she's like looking, and then she's like calling somebody over. She's like looking at me, and she never figured it out. So yeah, but it was wild.
Was she with her
yes,
partner?
Yes, and the
her
kids,
female partner.
Yeah, and I didn't know there was kids there too. And I'm like, I didn't, and I hate filming kids. I just hate filming kids. I leave them alone. I don't want to go near them. I don't want to look. I don't even want to be a part of them. I just don't like filming kids. But I didn't know she was, and I was not including them in the shot. And again, the camera was down, and I was very polite. I was like, hey, how are you? I'm a huge fan of, I love Silence of the Lambs. I mean, and I actually agreed with her about Hannibal, and she wasn't in Hannibal because she hated the way they changed the ending. And I agreed with her. And that's what I was going to talk to her about.
I think that the reason she probably freaked out was because she wasn't out back then. And so there you are with the camera. She's got her wife and kids.
Is that right? I mean, everyone knew. I thought, really? 2000?
It wasn't official until like 3 or 4 years ago. She kind of did it on I think the Oscars or the Golden Globe.
Oh, so that makes sense then.
Now
I feel terrible.
Yeah, you tried to out her, you monster.
I was trying, dude.
Funny stuff. Well, yeah, again, toxic workplaces can happen Anywhere they can happen.
Here's
In
what,
the parking lot.
here's what I'll say about all that. Here's the silver lining in all that. If anyone cares or is listening, at the end of the day, she is an entertainer, and I'm an entertainer, and people were entertained.
There you go. You did your job.
People were entertained. Were you not entertained? That's what I should have said to everybody in the valet line. Were you not entertained?
Absolutely.